Okay guys, so I'm going to do a video here. This is going to be how to remove the instrument panel out of a Jeep Cherokee XJ. This is a 1998. This may be useful if you got to do a heater core or air conditioning evaporator, maybe a blend door actuator. First thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to pull the seats out of here because I'm pulling the whole dash. This interior is just disgusting, and it's going to give me a lot more room. It's only 4 bolts per seat and a connector at the seat belt. So I'm just going to pull those, get those out of the way, and then I'll go over what we're going to have to remove to get the dashboard out of here. All right, so I got the seats out. This will give me a lot more room to work on the instrument panel. This car is just disgusting, man. But there's a couple screws in here, and I took them out. I think the bracket in here is broke, so I have to find one of those. I pulled the emergency brake up like this for sliding the console off. This just pops up. Okay, you can put something in there. There's a screw off to the side. This handle you just pull on. So let's see if I can do this. Okay. Yep, there we go. Just rip that off. Then I can slide this up and over. And there's a screw right in there. And then, let's see here. Probably have a trim tool for this. There we go. Pop this up. And there's a screw in there. And then this thing will just slide right off. Okay, so I got all the screws out of this thing. So I'm just going to pull up on the e-brake handle. Just slide this up and off. A little finagling, but yep, it'll pop right off. Okay, so I got the center console removed. And we'll start to remove the IP. We'll move the screws at the bottom of the glove box and pull that. There's a couple rubber stoppers that would be right in there. They've already been, somebody already pulled those. And then there's a couple screws at the bottom of the IP here. You pull that in the metal bracket. I had to get the carpet out of here. It was just so gross, but man, you can really see the gravity of the situation for this this vehicle. The frame rail, they pretty well shot. Okay, so I removed the seats. I removed the glove box door, so there's some screws along the bottom here. I can tell this thing's been taken apart at some point because it was missing screws. On the knee blocker, there's screws along here, and then there's a metal plate, and there's some screws in the corner, and that plate slides down. What's going to be important is we're going to have to get access to these electrical connectors to unplug them, because some of them are part of the dash harness and other harnesses. So that's going to be down here. There's a 11mm nut up in there, and the cover pops off. You've got to just, so that's the cover. You just loosen a couple screws here, slides to the side. You can see where this this 11mm goes. I did the same thing on the other side because there's some connectors and stuff back in there. Let's see. So this is going to get us kind of access to unplugging everything. We've got a couple connectors up in here. The dash goes in as sort of a module, so there's a couple connectors on this side, there's a couple connectors on this side, but like the airbag, a lot of stuff is part of the assembly. We don't have to take take it completely apart. So I'm just gonna grab this. Okay, that cover pops off. Here we're gonna take this front cover off, and then we're gonna take this, and there's some screws along the top here, and then there's a couple screws along the side, and that's pretty much all we're gonna have to take off as far as access. So I've got a couple screws here to take this front assembly off. Okay, so I've actually I just slid this cover off. I removed a couple screws. I was able to slide this through. There is a little push button back here to release this handle, but I just couldn't get it to go. So from there, the last real trim panel there is to remove is this top one. So this just kind of pulls up. Okay, so that's all the panels that have to be removed. So you can see there's quite a bit. You know, it's a modular assembly that comes like this. Everything else is going to be electrical connectors, some clips, and then the biggest thing is going to be the removal of the steering column. Up here you can see the mounting bolts where the dash is mounted, but I'm going to undo all the electrical connections and pull the steering column, and the last thing I'll do is remove these mounting bolts at the top, and there are a couple of mounting bolts on either corner. So the next step on the dash removal here, I've got to remove the steering column here. There's 3 screws up underneath. I'm going to pull those to pull this cover because I've got to undo the electrical connections. I removed the top and bottom trim covers, and I've got to undo all these electrical connections because I've got those are going to be left on the instrument panel. Okay, so on the steering column I undid all the connectors, so there's a lot in here as far as ignition, turn signal switches. This goes down to the shifter for a shifter lockout, so it was clipped right in here, and I detached that and fished it through, so this will come out with the steering column assembly. In here there's a bolt on the steering shaft that I pulled out, and then there's just 4 bolts here, so up there, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I got the steering shaft out. 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts, and then there was a pinch bolt that went around where that pinch bolt was. That would pinch onto the steering column, and there you go. Once we get all the connectors undone, this whole dash assembly will come out as one giant unit. So now that the steering column's out, I've got this white right here. This gray connector is going to come out with the instrument panel. I've got to undo this yellow connector. This side of the yellow connector is going to remain in the vehicle. The other side's going to come out with the instrument panel. And then down here, I've got 2 bolts here for some large connectors. Alright, so I've got the couple bulkhead connectors removed. So there's that one. The other one's down here. So these are the instrument panel side. Here, I've disconnected that. On the passenger side, we've got this. This is got some vacuum lines. The HVAC box comes out separate from the instrument panel. So got to undo this because that goes from the controls to here. I've got to undo this connector here and fish that out. And there's a couple connectors up in here and the radio antenna connector. Let's see, over here. And then there's a couple connectors at the power distribution center that go up towards the instrument panel. You've got this here, you've got this one here, that go up towards the top. Okay, so I've undone this. I got a couple connectors down in here. I don't have to undo everything on the PDC. A lot of this is going towards the body. I undid a connector up in here, and I undid the radio antenna, and that should be it. From there, I'm going to just undo the 2 bolts on either side. There are 4 bolts you can see for this bracket here in the center, and the bolts along the top. And I'm going to be very careful as I pull this out to make sure I didn't miss anything. The only other thing I've got here is this cable here. It has to be undone because this goes up to the HVAC, and this plenum box will wind up staying in here. Okay, so I've got removed, this is the entire instrument panel here. So you can see, I mean, there's a lot of disassembly, but at the same time there's a lot that gets left all together. That's the steering column harness. Let me flip this to the back side so you can see some of the connectors now. So that was one. These were the couple that went into the bulkhead. Over on the passenger side, there actually wasn't much that had to be disconnected. In fact, I think I may have disconnected a couple that did not. Well, there's still a lot in here. Over here, most of this interior power distribution center, because a lot of that's going towards the back of the vehicle. It's got some of the HVAC stuff. This plenum box will be the next thing I remove. Okay, so now that I've got the dash out, I've got the heater plenum box here, and in order to pull that out, all the fasteners are on the firewall. So I've got a bolt here, one down here. There's one down here. And I've got to remove this fitting here and these couple hoses, and then I can pull the heater box out. So with the heater box out, you can see a couple bolts, the pipes here, and then there's one vacuum line. And since I had the engine out, it was easy to get to these, but man, if you got the engine in this and you're trying to remove the heater core, these couple bolts right here on the firewall would be tough to get.